So really quickly reviewing just how to graph things. You should definitely see each of these things over here as movements, translations. So tell me one of these numbers, 2 or 3. Which one of these numbers makes you move which way? Which one of these numbers makes you move which way? Yeah, that 2. Hey, Miss Johnson, this 2 means up to. And what would you say to someone if they said, hey, why does that move up to? What would you say to that person? The reason why it moves up to is because bleh. Why? The reason why it moves up to is because bleh. What would you say? I'll just do this later. Yeah. Someone said, Ms. Johnson, the Y lives in regular land, not in parentheses. So that makes him move the way that you say it goes. Someone else said it affects the Y and is positive, so it goes up. So I like this. I'm gonna write this one, copy this guy, and put him right here. Just so we can all like kind of, these are your guys' words. And again, I'm a huge believer in, if you guys hear it from each other, then you're going to remember it just a little bit more. Okay, so it affects the Y and is positive, so it goes up. Okay, perfect. So then when someone says, okay, well, Ms. Johnson, I don't, so what about that 3? Where does it go? What does that 3 do to it? Yeah, it moves it to the left 3. Wait a second, what? Why does it move it to the left 3? Why does it move it to the left 3? Yeah, perfect. Why does it move to the left 3? Yes, it lives in backwards land. Exactly. 2 people put the exact same thing. That's kind of funny. Yeah, it lives in backwards land. Miss Johnson, what the heck does backwards land mean? It means that if you think that it should go left 3 or right 3, it goes backwards of what you think. So again, put this guy right here. So this 3 moves left 3 because it lives in backwards land, right? So the point that we always use as like our kind of like our starting point, anybody know which point I always use as my starting point? What's the point that I always use as my starting point? Yeah, I use 1, 0. So this point that used to live here at 1, 0 now is taking directions, right? It's taking directions. Go up to left 3, and that's where it lives now. So this is no different than directions like go up 2 blocks and then head east 2 blocks, and that's where I want to meet you. I don't know, something like that, right? So left, so up 2, and then left 3. Right, and this is where the new function lives, this guy right here. His new location is -2, 2. And if you think about that, if you think about this point right here that used to live at 1, 0, and it moves to -2, 2. If you think about this movement, that makes sense. Look, do you see the left 3? Do you see the left 3 in this whole picture? If you don't, it's right here. Let's go blue. Left 3. Or -3, right? Right, -3. So 1 minus 3 is -2. You could definitely see this up to business. This is definitely up to +2 or up to, whatever you want to call it. Up 2 is more like the direction, +2 is more like the math, right? So can you talk to me in both math and direction? Then you're understanding how to do this. So then this whole log function, like one of your classmates put it like this: once I moved this one point, the whole function follows it. And I was like, oh, that's a good way to put it. I didn't say it like that. I know exactly how I talk to you guys. And so it's very obvious to me who listens during class or the videos and who like snags stuff off the internet, which for me, I'm okay with it. This was a procedural quiz anyway, right? So I could hear, like, it's almost like I was hearing myself explain it to the people who were paying attention to my language. Because we talked about it, I forced you to say it over and over again. One particular classmate of yours kept saying things like, it's in backwards, it keeps going backwards. If even though you want to go left, you're going to go right, or vice versa, right? So if you can kind of look, this is where it is right there. So one of the things that I look for is the 0.10. The other thing that I look for is the, anybody know what else I look for? What else do I look for? Yeah, I look for the asymptote. So normally the asymptote lives here. Normally the asymptote lives here at x is equal to 0. How am I going to move this asymptote? How am I going to move this asymptote at x is equal to 0? Yeah, I'm actually going to move him in the same two directions that they tell me, except for this one has no play on a vertical asymptote, right? If I take this line and I move it up to 1, 2, it's still the exact same line. Then I'm going to move it left 3. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's right here at x is equal to -3. So it moved as well. Left 3. So then here it lives now at this dashed line there. So you can see your whole kind of function looking like this, right? All right. I think that's too tall, but that's okay. I just want to make sure that that gets done. All right. So as soon as this guy catches up to me, we should be good. While that's catching up to me, then you should be able to go backwards, right? It says write the equation write the equation for the base 2 log function with the given graph. So you should be able to see stuff here like, oh, I see the asymptote. Oh, I see what you're doing there. Oh, I see this and I see that, right? So same thing goes here. Anybody see any shifts that they want to talk about here? Anybody see any shifts that they want to talk about right here? Let me make it bigger. Can you see it? Is it too small? Yeah, there's a -1 happening. Who? To the X or to the Y? There is a shift of 1 happening. Very good. And it's to the X. Very good. So I have this X shift over. You can see my asymptote right here, or my asymptote, right? My asymptote right there, right now, is that X is equal to 1, which means my whole log shifted, right? So if I was going to write my generic like log formula, so it's going to look like this: log base 2 of something, right? Let me shift it over just a bit. There you go. This is my generic formula, right? And I have this, I'm going to put it over here, is equal to y, just because I didn't leave enough room right here. So is equal to y, and then you can kind of see where everything is. So I do know that there's going to be an x here, and I'm just asking 3 questions. Number 1, do I have an x shift, a horizontal shift? Number 2, do I have a vertical shift, which would live right here? And last but not least, do I have a stretch, meaning a multiplier in front of that log? And so all of these things can be checked because they gave you really good points right here, right? So the very first thing someone said, hey, Ms. Johnson, I see that shift to the right one. And then someone already told me, Ms. Johnson, that's -1. And it's -1 because it moved to the right one, right? Do I have a vertical shift? Do I have a vertical shift? Yeah, it moves down 5. I don't even know if it's down 5. Oh, that makes sense. It does move down 5 because normally this point is right here at 1 comma 0. At 1 comma 0. Notice it's now living down here at -5. So it moved down 5. Okay, I'm going to do it wrong on purpose. I'm going to do it wrong on purpose. Some people will say, oh, down 5. So then just put it 5 minus Miss Johnson. Oh, let me do a different color. 5 minus Miss Johnson because it moved down 5, right? So this is wrong. This is wrong, right? Why is this wrong? Yeah, because exactly, the 5 shows up as positive. Look at this 5. Look at him sitting there. Is he positive or negative? And you guys are like, oh, but there's a minus sign behind it. Yeah, but that 5 is positive. You all told me down 5. So it needs to, that down 5 needs to be a negative out in front, a big negative out in front. Okay. Another proof in the pudding why that's true is, hey, look, 10 minus 4 is not the same as 4 minus 10. 10 minus 4 is not the same as 4 minus 10. Very good. Okay. Someone already has the answer in the chat. The last thing I just want to make sure of is this number right here. There's no multiplier. The easiest way for me to check that there's no multiplier is by plugging one of these dots in, points in to Desmos, and making sure that that they're actually working. So I'm actually going to plug it in as a function and not graph it. I'm going to actually plug it in as a function. I'm like not going to graph it. So -5 plus log. For those of you who don't know how to do base 2, look, here's my thing. Go down here, you go to ABC, you go right here to A sub B. And then now I can grab 2. Okay. And then here, I'm not going to graph this as a function. I can, but the point of this is to make sure that I got all these points. So I don't want to check the point that I've just moved. I want to check one of these other guys. And my feeling is that I am right? My feeling is that I'm right. So no, there is no stretching. So this point right here, I'll check because it's easy to look. It's 5 comma -3. So that means when I plug in 5 here, I should get out -3. So I'm going to put 5 here, 5 minus 1. So this is my function that I just put right here. I just replaced x with my 5, and I'm hoping, look, yay, I got -3. So I'm going to snip this here. This is the way that you can absolutely check to see that your answer is in fact correct, right? Boom. So this is right here. And all this is doing, I'm just going to put it right on top of here. All this is doing is checking. This is me checking to make sure I don't have a multiplier, right? So here's my check. And because this is -3, and because this right here, this point right here is -3, this function is perfect. So someone already put this in the chat. Awesome job. You should know what every single piece actually means now. Good. All right. Good job.